Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to this session today and taking your time to be with us. There are some advantages to not having agency conference in person. One of them being that long pants are optional, so that's always a good thing. But pretty much, I want to just start out with introduction to myself and what I do, then followed up with kind of a quick presentation and overview of some numbers and stuff from the operations and food sourcing teams. And then at the end, we will open it up for a Q&A session. If you do think of questions during the presentation, submit them in the chat box and we can go over those too. So with that, I'll get underway. My name is Andrew Ayo. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at the East Texas Food Bank and basically oversee the operations and food sourcing team from the moment the food comes in until it's distributed to our partner agencies. Part of my other responsibility, I oversee other departments within the main department, and a lot of folks that you work with on a daily basis. Joel Cobbs, who's over transportation. Greg Joyce, the logistics manager. He helps you a lot with your orders or order errors. Kevin Ship, warehouse director and heads up the volunteers and production team. And then Anita Bangle, who works with a lot of folks. She oversees our retail store program. So all these fine folks do a lot for work hand in hand with you every day and are always available resources for you, as we move forward through things. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share or attempt to share my screen, and hopefully everyone can see that. All right. All right. So just start out with a little bit of overview for food sourcing and where we are at the end of our fiscal year 2021. And a lot of numbers, a lot of data here, but I think they're important for you to understand and kind of see how we look at things, how we think in kind of the targets that we strive to providing you with the fresh food that you need to serve the clients. So looking at last year, we sourced over 30 million pounds of food total. And of that, the total amount that we brought in that was free, which means completely 100% donated, was over 15, almost close to 16 million pounds. So, and within that, total federal commodities, these are the USDA items, and I know Tim had mentioned this in the opening, close to 11 million pounds. That is at an all-time high. Looking back at 3 or 4 years ago, that was like 4 million pounds. So we have seen an uptick in the federal commodities, which is a very, very good thing. And through the efforts of advocacy and all of that, we want to make sure that holds. 87% of the food that we source is donated, meaning no cost, and 12.7% of that is purchased. So our strategy on the food sourcing team is to bring in free food. Free food is good. Purchased food is only to fill the gaps of maybe staple items that we were unable to get donated. So, and so purchased is a higher cost to you, higher cost to us. So donated this is what our food sourcing team does. So Anita with the retail store program. Any of you that participate in that program, she asks you to do a lot because our donors ask us to do a lot. But it's very important to maintain those relationships because it is so much of the food that we source and then distribute. And this is a fancy chart here, but again, you can kind of see the breakdown by category of where the food is coming from. And this was through June of 2021, which was the end of our fiscal year, and how it compares to the year before. So a lot of information here, but again, USDA leads the way, retail store donations, and then produce, which is provided to our agency partners for free, all the top 3 categories. You want to see it another way, here's a fancy pie chart. Again, where's the food coming from that we distribute to our agency partners? Again, USDA, the biggest slice of pie, retail store, and then our fresh produce programs. Purchase, we'd like to shrink that down to almost nothing, but it has to be something, but that is one of the lowest points it has been. And then our food sourcing team works with a lot of manufacturers in the area, Tyson Chicken, Pilgrim's Pride, places like that, to get truckload offerings donated to East Texas Food Bank. From a distribution standpoint, last year, again, a record year, 28 million, almost 29 million pounds. Fresh produce, 10.7 million pounds, which represents 38% of what we distribute here at ETFB. And as we move into our strategic plan over the next few years, we're hoping to get that number closer to 50%. So a lot more fresh produce being distributed to our partners and to our clients is a very big cornerstone of our strategic plan. Tim had mentioned some of these numbers earlier, but again, average cost per pound, 35.5 cents. And the food that we did provide, 74% of it free, and that's up from 2020, which was 67%. And then for those of you who are running healthy pantries and working with our nutrition education team, percent of foods that we distribute that are foods to encourage is 67.5%. So from a distribution standpoint, our MO and our goal every day is basically centered around inventory turns. We don't want to store food in this warehouse. We want to move it, and we want to move it quickly and efficiently to our partners. So that is how we work in operations when it comes to turning this warehouse. And I think we're like 7 times a year that our entire inventory turns in and out of this building. Yeah, and there's kind of last year in a nutshell. I spoke to you about a record. So a lot of challenges last year and overlapping the height of the pandemic, which was in 2020, but we did it. We did overcome that. We had record freezing ice storms that shut down some of our partners for the month of February that really hit us hard in distribution, but we were able to get back up and going in March and catch some of that up. And this graph next kind of illustrates that. So, 2020 is in red, 2021 was in blue. So you see this huge spike in March. That was us coming back from the Snowmageddon or whatever it's called. And one note about this, if you look at April of 2020 versus April of 2021, and then moving forward, you see the height of the pandemic where you had this rise And then it looks like the two lines kind of come together again in June. So to me, that looks like we're back to where normal, if you quote unquote, normal distribution would be. So a lot of things going on there, but it was a heck of a year. It's been a heck of a year and a half. And we're just proud that we're still pushing out a lot of food and getting it to the people that need it. USDA, we talk about it. Some of this is a real busy slide, but there are a lot of offerings coming through the balance of the year. And I just kind of wanted to give you all a peek at that. Nothing new or, or anything really exciting or out of the usual, but it's important as we approach the holiday season that we know that we're going to have a lot of this stuff in-house and out and available for distribution. So yeah, again, busy slide and a lot of stuff going on here. But ground beef, some of the highlights here, fresh milk, we've got eggs, all the staples, canned vegetables in that stuff. So and I will have my email address up for you at the end of this presentation. So if anybody wants more information about this, I can send it after this presentation. So with that, we can get back to the Q&A session. And this is going to be the part here. So, all right, there's everybody. So we had some questions submitted beforehand, and several of them kind of geared towards the price of food and, will it come down? When is it going to come down? And that is the $1 million question. So what we are seeing is that some commodities are coming down in price. Some of the vegetables that were around 20 something dollars a case, now around 15. That's a little higher than it used to be. However, some items are going the other way. Some of the grains have went up. Some of the components we use for kitting are way up. And then there are still a few supply chain issues with certain items. So if you notice today in our inventory, we don't have corn available, canned corn. That's a staple item. Well, I've got it on order. It's on order from USDA. It's on its way, but there's some delay there. So, and so for the most part, I can't definitively say, yeah, food prices are going to get back to normal next year. But I guess I could say safely that they are trending back down. So that's a good thing. So did anybody else have any other questions or anything? We can open up the floor.
Hey, Andrew, it's Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
A lot of our clients are asking about butter.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help us understand how we get butter into the warehouse?
Yeah, sure. Well, right now the only offerings of butter that we're bringing in is USDA. So because it's donated. So a lot of times, and I always say this every time an agency conference, we can purchase and order anything and have it in our inventory. But are you willing, or agencies willing to pay for it? Because if it's not discounted, if it's close to retail prices, we're not going to bring it in because it's not, it's not a discount, and quite frankly, people won't order it. So you kind of see the same situation with turkeys. So people always ask me, so were you going to bring in turkeys for Thanksgiving? Well, I can, but they're like $1.50 a pound. Well, during the holidays, they run for like 59 cents a pound. So, it's just one of those things that, we could carry butter permanently, but right now we're just relying on USDA, and there are some offerings of it coming balance of year. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Hey, Drew.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's Mike at St. Vincent's.
Hey, Mike, good morning.
How you doing? Good. Hey, does it look like the large pork is a thing in the past?
Repeat that again.
Does it look like the large pork, like the pork loins or pork roast? Any possibility?
Not seeing any, I am seeing pork hams coming as an offering. Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm buying right now because there's not much of anything else.
Right. The pork loins, pork roast, are not being offered up right now from USDA.
Okay. I wish they were.
Yeah.
Andrew,
Yes.
this is Becky from Community Care. I submitted a question. I've just
I see you.
noticed that we have a lot of canned goods that are coming from China.
Yes.
Can you kind of explain a little bit about that? Or if it
Well,
could be a concern or anything?
no, it's nothing out of the ordinary. Honestly, a lot of the vegetables and fruits have been coming from overseas the past several years. Really not sure why or how that works. I mean, it's some of it was kind of offset during the trade or tariff, the tariffs and trade mitigation that was going on earlier, but it seems like some of that is coming back now. So yeah, canned vegetables are produced and canned overseas. I've noticed China, Pakistan, a few of those other types of places. And so, but I don't think there's anything to worry about. I think it does give the opportunity to buy these things in bulk cheaper. But it also, on the downside of that, can cause delays. So, but good question. I'm glad you noticed that. So,
Thank you for answering it.
we have another question here. Does each agency have a different order list, or do they all have the same order list? They all have visibility to the same order list, with exception of certain types of programs, I guess that's correct, Tim. Yeah,
Yeah,
you'd
that's
be
right. Like if you have a backpack program, you only have availability to purchase single serve product, and that's because we try to stay within the build buy or package buy dates for that particular program. So other than that, every pantry and soup kitchen should have the exact same shopping list.
Good question. Anything else, maybe like to see on the shopping list, or haven't seen in a while, or something, like to see done differently, or any kind of feedback?
I have a question about the backpack program, probably now because I'm teaching this year, so I'm seeing this food going home. And I also know that a lot of the food, like the stew and things, these kids are not heating up. If it could be like the macaroni and cheese in the little pop cans, they can eat that cold.
Mhm.
But if they can kind of stay away from the food that has to be heated, because these kids are basically on their own and they're not going to heat it. So that's something that's going to get tossed aside.
And those are like the beef stew type pop tops you're referencing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything that needs to be heated.
Okay.
These kids are not going to either have access or not have someone to do it for them.
Okay. It's good feedback. Thank you.
Hey, Drew,
Yes, sir.
Mike again. Are canned corn and canned potatoes some of the having problems right now? Is that China?
Yeah, I believe so. And the only reason I'm saying that, there hasn't been any kind of announcement or anything. I just know that I've had some on order and there are several truckloads scheduled from USDA that have not arrived yet. So I'm making that assumption that there is some sort of delay or some problem with canned corn. So,
Okay, we're looking for it.
yeah, me too. So that's a staple item that we don't ever need to run out of, and we're out. So,
Okay, appreciate it.
This is Becky again from Community.
hey, Becky.
I was just gonna say, thank you for the free food. I know like the pallets of cereal that we picked up. I mean, it has really helped our budget through the year by picking up a lot of the free stuff. It's just made my money stretch much farther, and we really appreciate that.
Well, that's what we do, and it's not always the variety that maybe is the preference. But I know what you're talking about. You know, we've been working real close with the local Target distribution center here in Lindale, and I believe they gave us 4 truckloads of cereal, but it was predominantly Lucky Charms and maybe one other one. So it's good cereal, but that's a lot of Lucky Charms, right? So, but that's what we try to do in working and keeping these relationships with these donors, and every now and then you strike gold with something like that. So,
Well, it definitely helped our dollar stretch to buy other things. So it's much appreciated.
and one other strategy that we try to use, you know, if you'll notice, some of our USDA items have shared maintenance and some don't. And so what we try to do, we look at our inventory. Again, we're trying to keep inventory turning. So if I have purchased canned peaches in inventory and then I get a load from USDA, more than likely the USDA is going to be free, because I never will move the purchased peaches. So so we're trying to not duplicate inventory, and when we do have duplicate inventory, we try to move it out as quick as possible. So so you'll see some of that not inconsistency, but prices can change based on what's sitting and what's moving.
This is Becky again. And what I'm going to present is probably just our pantry problem. It doesn't probably affect anyone else. But whenever you bring the truckloads of produce and drop them off,
Yes.
which is on Monday, which is great because our distribution is on Tuesday. But my truck is running to Tyler. If I knew what was coming on the truck from Tyler, produce wise, then whenever community care truck gets to the food bank, we won't double up on that produce.
I got you.
They'll call and they'll say, okay, Becky, we've got a truck coming. They'll deliver around 10. And I'll say, okay, do you know what's on the truck? And they don't know, where I've got my truck coming to you. And sometimes we double up. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, and theoretically, and again, that happens every time. Theoretically, what is on the truck should be the same that's available to you. But I know it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the drivers that are heading your way typically don't know what they do, kind of, but not with great detail. I mean, they're pretty much, their orders are full, they load them up and they head that way. So they might know what's on the order that's coming to you, but they can't really tell you probably what's available behind them. So,
the person that calls me, from the office, I think is Brenda. She doesn't know either, does she?
she doesn't know. No, ma'am.
Okay, so
And-
from now on, I'll just tell them the truck's coming, so just don't pick up produce.
Right. And if you don't have produce for some reason, that should be communicated ahead of time. But if not, your produce should be coming with your order.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Andrew, it's Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
Some clients are also asking about flour and sugar.
Mhm.
I know here at Lufkin, we're a healthy pantry. So even if you had sugar, I don't know that we would buy it. But can you just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. What we carry here, let me start with flour. We just basically carry the all-purpose baking mix. And we carry that as a staple item. I guess that's the same thing as flour. I'm not really sure, but we do sometimes get offerings of flour from USDA. Sugar is a little bit different. We've had it at times. We were able to secure it several years ago. It's not a discounted, it wasn't at a discounted price, but we have no vendors for sugar. Okay. And it was, if I recall, it was 1 or 2 pound bags. They were in plastic bags, and we had it. Everybody loved it. They ordered it, and it wasn't cheap, but it did provide as a staple. But I've just not been able to get it the past several years. So.
Thank you.
So I guess, let's see, any other questions? If not, then we have to spend the last 10 minutes singing, and I don't think anybody wants to go through that. So.
Well, hey, this is Mike again. We don't want to listen to you sing. I do want to.
Thanks, Mike.
I do want to throw out kudos to the dock staff.
Okay.
Seemed like a well-oiled machine, and we rarely have any issues. They jump right on it and take care of us, and like to thank all those working on the dock and doing the pulling and that kind of thing.
Thank you, Mike, and we'll definitely pass that along. It's a tough job. I mean, it's hot in the summer and cold in the winter, but they keep a smile and keep doing it. So, we're proud of those guys and gals too. So, but we'll definitely pass that along to them.
All right, thank you.
Same from us, Andrew. Whenever the drivers come to Lufkin, everything runs very smoothly. They're great. And, they know exactly what they're doing, and we really appreciate them.
Well, good. The drivers are, they're our ambassadors out there, and they are, they work under the supervision of Joel, and I know Joel talks to a lot of people every day, and he's a go-to guy for a lot of information as far as route updates and whatnot. So, but I'll pass that along to him. So thank you, Rachel. Tim, you got anything else to add?
No, I think I'm good. If there
Yeah.
aren't any other questions, though, some of those other breakouts are still going. So you guys can jump in there. I think the agency services one in particular, the post-COVID procedures might be helpful to y'all. So you can jump in there. If you hit at the bottom of your screen, there's a blue button. It says leave room. Should be on that right-hand side. If you click that, just verify to leave, and then you'll be able to pick out another breakout session. Thanks, Andrew. I really appreciate you guys taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.